Matt told me to do the intro, so yo, what's up?
Not much, TJ. Wolf's mask after about 20 seconds into that clip. But if you got there, then that's what's important. We're here with Challengers Uprising, Maryville University versus Wildcard Gaming. My name is Matt Daniel, joined, of course, by the incorrigible Thomas TJ James.
I don't know if I like that more verbose description.
I did the intro, TJ, so you have to deal with it.
I didn't get a say. Welcome to the draft. It is time for a very important game. The team that loses here is out of playoffs. Maryville up against the wall as a legacy team, as a university team that we normally see making the top tier of amateur. And Wildcard would also be kind of a shocker to lose this early on in the tournament as a team that has been around the amateur circuit for a very long time. But we got to kill one of our darlings here today, Matt.
Maryville with the double AD carry ban already. They are just focusing in on Wildcard.
Yeah, Team Luke down in the AD carry role for Wildcard. Maybe worth 2 men. He subbed in for CLG Academy this season, the very start of the season. And he didn't look great, but he won a game versus C9's bot lane. He held his own, and he has looked pretty darn good down here in amateur. Maryville certainly are making the right call to focus there.
I think the mid lane TF ban is going to be really good. I've seen a lot of roaming out from Wolf recently on that pick.
Okay, so I have a thing about that. I was watching those games. I had some extra time, so I was checking back in. Wolf, if I had a criticism, if I had a criticism of him, it would be, second time's the charm, it would be that he doesn't have a whole lot of map impact a lot of the time. He's kind of content just to do his own thing, stay safe in lane, not lose anything for his team. And TF forces him, at least theoretically, to have more access across the map, and I think that's why it was really working for him, because the ultimate makes it a requirement that you roam. So he has been playing like 3 consecutive games of Twisted Fate. That's why Wildcard ban it alongside Senna, which is real good right now, and a Rel, which is, as we heard during the desk, something that's been picked up by Shady down in that support role.
It's a real shame that Talia is no longer a mid lane champion. It's another one of the roamers that's been pushed out of the meta, now a jungler. And Wildcard Gaming pick up, as expected, a really strong bottom lane with the Aphelios Thresh there for Team Luke and Daption.
Yeah, this really plays to Team Luke's strengths. Thresh is very, very good alongside Aphelios, but more than anything else, it is just a very solid 2v2 lane. That is what Wildcard are looking for, because there is the kind of built-in assumption that Shady isn't always going to be down there with Evan RL, and as a result, Evan RL is going to be playing something a little more disengaged focused, a little more wave clear focused, and we get that in the Misfortune. Expect this Nautilus to probably spend some of the game roaming, and Misfortune to be alone and vulnerable to an Aphelios Thresh if they can close the distance, which of course that composition can.
The one thing I'll say about their tendency for Shady to roam, though, is that Evan RL is super experienced with it, and I think in contrast to other teams, you shouldn't expect that to mean Evan is going to die under tower when 1v2. Very experienced playing this way, has been doing so literally all season, and has yet to die when I've been watching.
And that's kind of the power of Maryville. Yes, they are leaving Evan RL alone in lane, but Evan RL doesn't lose the lane regardless. Evan manages to stay in it, especially with something like a Misfortune. So the Aphelios Thresh has got to get more aggressive or exploit that by roaming across the map and pressuring elsewhere. Wildcard to grab a Shen up towards the top side, presumably in Quacker's hands, and you can expect that to be deployed to support the jungle aggression of Panda. He tends to get really feisty, invading for buffs, trying to steal away camps at the very start of the game, and a Shen, once they hit 6, will be able to support that, and maybe bail out Panda every now and then when they put their foot in it.
Shoutouts to Mundo Jungle there from Panda. This has been the new age answer there to Udyr, and this also allows Wildcard to save their mid lane pick for the counter pick there for Xeno, which will be really powerful against Wolf. But this forces, of course, because they're blue side, Chippies is going to have to pick it up, as is Wolf.
We do get a Gnar in the top side. And Shady still sitting on it. So top lane matchup is going to be given counterpick. That Gnar into Shen is a pretty fun matchup for the Gnar. And we do get the Azir for Wolf. Wolf, you may recognize if you watched last season as the Wolf's Claw. I think there was another variation he went by, but he certainly does play a solid mid lane. Azir is certainly a solid champion right now, but you can't expect too much kind of flashy lane jewelers play coming out from Wolf. And the thing I would say about Xeno is Xeno tends to also play pretty safe and solid in lane. So in contrast to a lot of our flashy mid lanes, you can expect both these players to stay slow, only force an advantage if they spot an opportunity. Although, the wrench in that work is that Xeno does play real good on Syndra. That is Xeno's favorite character. I was listening to Kelsey Moser before the game talk about how she specifically liked Xeno's Syndra and thought it was rather good. So maybe something can be made out of that.
Yeah, I really like this composition out of Wildcard. It accomplishes everything they want to do. It gives you a nice, easy top lane where you can avoid chippies if you need to, give a response to the bottom lane of the map, get those roams going, and respond to dives of your own. Whereas in the mid lane, a very nice stable pick there for Xeno, as you mentioned. And in the jungle, you have someone who can go toe-to-toe with Udyr. The thing I worry about is that first clear for Panda.
Yeah, well, first clear for Panda, sure. Mundo kind of struggles. But also, this is by the numbers and Aphelios composition. Wildcard are playing towards, in theory, Luke being able to get that Aphelios out ahead and shove it through into team fighting phase, win the game from there. And they have a really good composition for that. They're going to put the Mundo Shen on the front lines with the Thresh, put the Aphelios Syndra behind it. And I don't know what defeats that, what beats that for Maryville, because they've kind of drafted a front-to-back composition as well, and they are just going to lose a front-to-back team fight as it stands right now. So there's a lot of emphasis for me, maybe not so much on Panda, provided Panda doesn't screw up in the jungle, but instead on that bot lane where the Aphelios does have to be the major source of aggression during the early game, and also in the mid lane where we kind of wrote Xeno off as probably not earning a massive lead. But if they do, then there's a secondary carry available for Wildcard.
Have to see how they fare as we get into game number 1 between Wildcard Gaming and Maryville University, where the last playoff slot is on the line. Whoever loses this gets knocked out of playoff contention.
All right. Everything on the line here. We were talking prior to the game. I don't know if you said it outright. I know that the cool analysts, and by that I mean Joshi, agrees with me. But I think this ought to be pretty good for Maryville. I think this ought to be a pretty clean victory for them. And I've just seen the draft and kind of changed my tune. I feel like Wildcard have turned things around a little bit, provided they're able to get Luke out to a good start and Panda doesn't put his foot in the wrong place in the jungle.
Yeah, I think I'm favoring Wildcard off the draft as well, just because it's a very easy to execute front-to-back composition. But of course, we do have Chippies in a counter matchup where he can really take over the game and try and show that dominance that recently Maryville have been kind of faltering it. And I want to see Chippies come back strong and just blow out this game.
Yeah. Chippies has lost a couple of lanes recently, but across this season, and of course they are an OPL veteran. Across this season, the theory is that they are one of the powerhouses on this new Maryville lineup, recovering from the graduation of most of their players, which I make sound like a bad thing, and it is a bad thing if you're a Maryville University League of Legends team fan. But it's not a bad thing if you're a fan of any of those players, and I'm sure the Maryville staff are quite proud of managing to get those promotions.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see them on GG as we see a little bit of an engage down into the bottom lane, but Maryville haven't really recovered from that. So I want to see, this is Chippy's trying to fit in with a team that was already established last year.
Well, to be clear,
same for Odd Orange.
our standards are very high. Maryville did get third place, beating Barrage at Big League in that third place matchup. They are looking good recently. However, they are up against the chopper. What a nasty hook from Shady.
Adaption low and ignited, but no kill coming out. Shady feeling good about backing off there.
However, they are not living up to our expectations, which is being, you know, contesting for the top slot here in Amateur. This isn't a Maryville that is doing that regularly yet.
I have faith in them, TJ. If this early game continues to be this uneventful, I think we're looking towards the first team fight to really decide where this game goes, because nobody is really out ahead in lane just yet, despite the constant skirmishing bot lane.
We do have both junglers surviving here in mid, where Zeno did get totally zoned off of the first wave or so. Thus has been recovering ever since, but of course now Syndra has their spells up. That will flip on its head. There is vision established here, Panda.
Ooh.
Does he know?
Odd Orange going for it. Stun first into the Tiger stance. Don't like that sequencing, but it did force the flash.
At the end of the day, a forced flash, a burned flash is a win. And they'll be able to walk away from that early game. Maryville planning to be out ahead.
Odd Orange is running away. Finally, we'll get that back off. I do have to say, TJ, I've been so gratified seeing Udyr back in the meta, but I'm starting to get to that point, as I always do on champions that come into the meta, where I'm like, well, this has been cool, guys. We got anything else?
It's nice to see you again, but like, seriously.
Is there another jungler? Just
No.
asking, for a friend.
No, I've checked my notes. Is the only jungler. Quacker in toward will land. This trade's going real good from Chippy's, even in Meganar just being out-traded. Will find the connections, does not hit their spells, has to flash away, and Quacker's got the chase down. 2 flashes burned, but only 1 kill found. Wildcard able to strike back through their top side.
I really like that play from Quacker, incredibly heads up, because as soon as you hit 6, you are no longer in control of that matchup. Chippy's is going to get an additional damage spell in the ultimate, whereas you're just going to get your pitiful shield and teleport. It's really good. But not in 1v1s. And as a result, Quacker now keeps that lead for a little bit longer, keeps that dominance over the lane.
Ooh, Lantern in. Was trying to hook away there. Shady wanted to Spider-Man out, just never had the opportunity. 2 really well executed plays there for Wildcard. Mundo engage found. And then Quacker, I didn't get the chance to touch on it, but his Shen mechanics were sick. Really good timing on the shield use and just his movement. Very good understanding of the matchup.
What Shen comes down to a lot, and especially in a counter matchup, being able to do that well and find a solo kill is huge. Off the back of that bottom lane gank, it will be the Ocean Drake being picked up by the side of Wildcard. So we see a potential engage here in the mid lane. Wolfie goes in, Shurima shuffle.
Daption read it, did stay on the hook, is able to get back over the wall, but it won't save him. Wolf finds the opening kill here for Maryville. That is the first thing on the board for them, and it will be all a single kill onto their support, and it is essentially in trade for Panda grabbing the Infernal Drake, the first Drake of the game.
They got something, TJ. Well, it's something. Hell yeah, Maryville. Congrats.
Yeah, no, and that is kind of the framing at the very start of this game. I will say, Maryville, despite losing those kills and the first Drake, are keeping the gold even. A lot of that is in the mid lane, where Wolf has been pressing his advantage. There's also a pretty devastating CS lead over the Chippies, despite the kill disadvantage. And here's more.
Panda finds the lantern in, engage from Wolf as well. Red buff gets tossed onto Shady, as is the Ignite. Zeno finds the kill. Wolf has to run away, but Daption is on the chase with Zeno. There's the flay into the back. Wolf's down. Double kill there for Zeno.
Daption's really playing quite well here. There was the interrupt on the Nautilus hook away down in the bottom lane, and then he's been relevant to every subsequent fight, taking that dredge line, destroying Shady's plans in that skirmish as well, making sure to get Panda out. This is a good look so far for Wildcard, who did start this season on kind of a rough note, started Challengers Uprising on kind of a rough note. At the very beginning of this month was when Panda and Team Luke were added to the lineup. And I do think this is a stronger lineup than they've had previously this season, but it has seen some growing pains. So one of the things I was watching as we came into today's game is, are we continuing to see this arc that I've been watching for Wildcard, where over the course of their Challengers Uprising run, they have every game looked more and more synced, more and more impressive as a cohesive team unit? And the answer thus far, Matt, is absolutely. This is a really good look for Wildcard.
Yeah, and especially even for Xeno. I mean, I know we were talking about how his Syndra's really sick, but beyond that, we haven't been super impressed. I think seeing the Syndra dominate this hard is a really good sign for Wildcard's mid laner, and it seems like they are kind of finally meshing.
Yeah, shout out to Kelsey Moser, who argued with me that Xeno is actually sick, and I was massively undervaluing him. Here you go, on the Syndra. Kelsey, looking real good. This will be a continuation of the good macro from Wildcard as they were able to match everything Maryville was doing on the map earlier, now taking advantage of their own. This will be, should be, the Rift Herald over, and Panda will pick it up.
Yeah, with the level advantage there, there's no way that Odd Orange even goes for the steal. This Udyr has kind of been on the back foot the entire game and hasn't been able to find anything. The only time I've seen the Udyr get into any action is when Panda was caught at the red buff, and even then, that was a rough performance. The stance, timing, and order was just questionable, and then all you got out was a flash, which is fine, but no engages came out, unlike the bot lane.
Unlike the bot lane, where Daption is still finding hooks, this bullet time's good though, and Luke is locked down. Shady will at least fall in trade, but that is not what you want. Evan will take the 1-for-1. Support for AD carry any day of the week.
Yeah, really good trade there. This is what we're looking for from Maryville. We really needed to see them make more of an advantage in the bottom lane. Beautiful CC chain decision there from Evan to just focus immediately onto Team Luke. Sure, Shady dies for it, but that's what supports are for. They just die in engagements. If you get the other AD carry, support has done their job, TJ.
Sure, they've died for it, but that's what TJ's supposed to do in my lane, Matt says.
Yeah, actually.
Xeno will duel here on the mid side. And this could get spicy, as there is Shady in the area. Here comes Panda around the side, won't be able to find anything. Stands united, hard engaged from Quacker, underneath the turret. They find the follow-up, Xeno's got another stun, and Wildcard have 2 more kills.
I was really convinced, TJ. I was like, Maryville, great engage into the tower, you got this. And then the Stand United comes out, Panda comes in and just absolutely decimates that mid lane engage, and Wildcard Gaming, we were coming into this game low on them. We even said earlier that we truly expected this series to be pretty much a Maryville sweep, but my God, Wildcard are here to play, man.
Yeah, and I do think they had a good draft, but that does not answer everything that has happened here. Wildcard are beating Maryville in the macro play and have been for a while. Case in point, they'll get to this Drake first.
Good hook there from Daption. Lantern being body blocked. Panda finally makes it out. No ultimate pop just yet, has to flash away. Blue team takes the dragon. Wolf tries to find the dive onto Panda. 1 health left, finally taken down the jungler of Wildcard. And now, really good turnaround from Maryville there.
Yeah, Maryville able to punish Wildcard, who thought they could get that Drake with just Xeno and Panda. A little bit messy. Got a little over eager, and as a result, we'll lose the Drake, we'll lose a player. And that could add up. Here's Luke and Daption looking for something back down in the bot side. Luke was pinned here by a wave that entire time.
Odd Orange, not spotted just yet on these wards. On the minions, rather. Daption goes in for the hook. The flash stun
He's
out from
gone.
Odd Orange. Daption
And
down again.
Daption's removed. Odd Orange is still kind of looking here. I think Avalio's wave clear is more than good enough, so I don't think there's a way in unless Shady hits that dredge line, in which case he's gone. Maryville stand back up towards the mid game as they have now closed that gold lead entirely.
Maryville just have completely turned the game around about 12 minutes in. The first, I want to say, even 9 to 10 minutes. This is a completely recent revelation here in this game where they take these losing lanes and suddenly Team Luke is down 0-2. Daption's died a few times as well. Panda dies at the Dragon. And Maryville are solidly back in this game. 0-0-4 on Odd Orange, but most importantly, Evan RL, their win condition in the bottom lane, 2-0-2.
And we set the expectation that Team Luke would be the carry for this team in the team fights. That Luke would be the backline of Avalio's damage. I went so far as to call this in Avalio's comp. That is no longer an option. It must be Xeno. Xeno has to be the DPS carry towards the mid and late game. Or maybe you can feed Luke with a couple of team fights, try and get him back out. Definitely Maryville read that desire, though, and are continuing to try and bully his lane.
Shady in trouble, has to flash out. Here comes the
TPs.
teleport. Double teleports from Maryville. Wolfie coming in from the side.
Chippies.
Chippies as well.
Oh!
The huge Gnar slam. Panda's down.
dead.
Luke is out. Everyone's dead. The shuffle
Back
over the
over the
wall,
wall.
and Xeno falls to the might of Maryville.
That was disgusting! Maryville are right back on the ball. A TP in from Chippies. He flashes over the wall and stuns up the entire team simultaneously. That is both of the frontline characters. Panda, instantly locked down, won't be able to CC anyone. And of course the Aphelios Luke, who you're relying on to do the damage in these fights, who you're hoping to fight here to get them out ahead. He's gone. And then they also lose Xeno, who was, I just said, their hope for late game damage. And I would go further than I did before. Maryville are not just back in this game, as they lock down a mid-game turret, or a mid-lane turret. I would say this is their game now.
The most important thing, too, was that Stan United did get interrupted by virtue of the fact that Team Luke just died too fast. That essentially made it a 4v5 once Team Luke died, 3v5. And from there, Maryville was just super easily able to clean up the entire fight. Now they're in a pretty decent lead, 2k, and looking at this Rift Herald.
Looking towards a Rift Herald for Maryville's first real proactive objective play since they started this game off. Sure, they stole away the Ocean Drake, but they didn't start that. Now they've taken the tier 1 in mid, will take the tier 1 in top side. There's simply no way for Wildcard to contest this Drake, or sorry, this Herald. And you can see them making doubly sure, putting Shady out in front.
Now, Maryville off the reset of that Rift Herald. Odd Orange is running around trying to figure out what to do with it. They need to find a response to this bottom lane turret take. I can't imagine they just let Xeno get away with it, and they are indeed sending Wolf, Shady, and Odd Orange down. Panda there to play spoiler.
Xeno's gonna float away. Man, every time I see Syndra just like floating across the map like that, it is hysterical to me.
I really want to see a Shirelia's Syndra, just for that reason. Just zooming across. Yeah, like that. She gets kind of a Superman stance when she gets the speed boost.
Invest more in Syndra skins, right? This is focused towards the Drake. Clan Drake did just come up. Maryville with a full focus towards it will be uncontested. I don't know what Wildcard are up to here. There's a top turret up for grabs, I guess, but nobody's defending it, so they don't need their entire team here. Because their entire team went to the top side, Wildcard will just turn their attention towards mid and see if they can take a turret of their own and trade.
Maryville did a beautiful job cutting them off as well, so it's forcing the TP out in order to have a defense. TPing from base, no less.
Yep, Rift Herald will not get the turret, but it will get decent damage. And in the meantime, up in the top lane, it does not look like Quacker has gotten enough turret damage to take that turret before there is a response.
It's hard for me to point out where Wildcard's game fell apart. It feels like a lot of it was just on map movement, because the first time where we were really saying, oh my god, Wildcard are just screwed, it was near that dragon fight with the huge TP from Chippies.
Yeah, I think it was Chippies both times. I think it was the team fights around Dragon both times. Wildcard were winning the early game. They were matching Maryville's aggressive macro. And then we get to these big coordinated team fights, and they made one weird call, which was Panda starting the Drake before they had vision, before they had the rest of their team back up. And from there, everything has kind of spiraled, because then Team Luke wasn't able to get out of lane. This is on a ward. Daption knows what's up. Oh, not quite.
Smite from Odd Orange. The reaction time, TJ. So good.
But ever since Team Luke kind of got knocked down and hasn't been able to get out of lane, we've gotten to a mid-game where Wildcard don't really have enough damage threats to scare Maryville across the map. They can't play the micro, and that means that the macro, well, they don't have any weapons to push Maryville around with.
It's interesting to me, upon reflection, what Panda's doing with the Mundo build. Traditionally, you see a lot of chem tank with him. Like, Frostfire Gauntlet is not out of the question. A few people tend to build it, but it weakens your ability to be a primary engage and is better at just keeping people in fights. And so far, that hasn't really been paying off for them. I think Panda being able to quickly move around the map would have been a bigger boon.
They're flanked here. Chippies from the top side, Shady round one with Odd Orange right on top of him. Chippies will take the fight v Panda. Chippies hitting with the entire team. It's the setup. Odd Orange follows up on Wolfie. They are all dead. Double kill for Wolfie. Make it a triple as Chippies yanks that one away, actually. And Xeno and Panda just need to run for their lives. 3 more kills passed over to Maryville.
And this is now Maryville's game, strong and true. 4K gold up after this fight. You can see the engage started off the top side. Panda split off from the team as that frontliner. But Chippies, again, comes in with that huge gnar. And Wolf with a fantastic Emperor's Divide in order to push them into Evan's bullet time. This is the team fight coordination we know from the Maryville of old. And finally, it seems to have come online for this new roster.
I mean, they have been on a upwards trajectory since Big League. Like, let's not act like it's been totally absent. But this is the team that beat Barrage. This is the team that should be threatening for a top slot here in Cup, and I'm delighted to see Maryville back on the Rift. I do want to see what Wildcard would do with maybe a longer game, with a game where they hadn't had Team Luke be blown out of the bottom lane. Because they do have a solid draft. It's just that neither of their 2 damage threats have been able to perform. Xeno doing all right, but with Luke down, Xeno needed to be a secondary carry, needed to be the carry of this game. And they haven't been able to do that.
It's difficult, especially in a 2-threat composition, which is what Wildcard are running. Because if you have a composition like Maryville's, technically mid and bot aren't the only carries. You can get Chippies ahead. Hell, even Odd Orange on that Udyr can put out some damage threat. We saw earlier in LCS, Blabber's Udyr just solo people
just
under
now,
tower.
I saw Odd Orange throw a haymaker that just absolutely destroyed Daption, so there's something to it. Panda will get lanterned away here. But yeah, you do have more flexibility on the Maryville side, but they also just have a composition that relies on very specific CC combos. Chippies, if he can provide that stun, it is very difficult to win a team fight against him. And Chippies has managed to land a big stun literally every team fight that Maryville have won.
Oh, this is interesting. Really weird movement here from Wildcard. There's no way they just go for this Desperation Baron. Everyone was grouping around this dragon from Maryville, but Chippies decided to rotate back top, and it seems like Wildcard are sending everyone up there for, honestly, God knows what, TJ. Are they just going to try and dive him?
No, because they absolutely can. Panda's in trouble. We'll have to burn Flash to get away. This is the second time that around Drake, Wildcard have forfeited the Drake to wander up towards the top half of the map. First time round, they at least got a little bit of damage onto that turret. Second time round, I don't know what they were thinking. Because Maryville were certainly aware it was something Wildcard might do. Maryville leave Chippies in lane with the TPs. I don't mind us TPing if you're needed. And Wildcard, the second they showed to take Chippies, just prompted the full rotate. Again, Maryville had read their book from the first time round.
Well, it's a really weird book, TJ. They're putting the conclusion in the second chapter. It's
one of those
really bizarre,
like surreal kids storybooks.
Yeah, it's like in Percy Jackson, how they flip it upside down halfway through. You're like, that doesn't make any sense. Wait, what? Yeah, have you never read it?
That's not. No, my copy of The Lightning Thief?
Yeah. In the middle, they flip it upside down to simulate dyslexia or something.
No, really cool. But also I am, so maybe I just read it. I don't know.
Maybe you just didn't notice. You just read it upside down the whole time.
No, my copy of The Lightning Thief didn't do that. That's interesting.
That's lame. The first print did. But yeah, that's kind of what it feels like here for Wildcard's macro. They're just making these really bizarre decisions where it's like, yeah, sure, they're going to get Dragon. We're not going to contest that. And instead, we're going to hang out at Maryville's blue buff. Oh, yeah. Like, what are you trying to get? What are you actually trying to achieve off that?
This was something that we had talked about during the pregame. Panda, I don't know if Panda is the shot caller, but the plays that happen around Panda's jungle decision-making are sometimes very questionable. So whatever led to Wildcard twice in a row setting up, I think the idea was to take that top turret and a little bit of farm around it. Whatever led to that was very poorly executed. I do think, in theory, the idea of we're not going to be able to contest this Drake, let's see if we can steal away some farm, is the right call, but they didn't make good on it either time.
Oh, those clever bastards. Trying to sneak away the Baron, but will be caught up there by Daption. Instead, they'll be able to get this mid lane turret, and Team Luke engaging on Shady. I don't know about that one.
Shady is weirdly separated. Will go down. Shady's gone. Bullet time. Only onto Panda. Panda will survive with no trouble, but it backslides. Chippies has found another huge double stun, and Luke needs to make this happen. Moonlit Vigil finds big damage. Chippies will be death sentenced and slain. Luke is finally here to be the team fight carry, and this team fight has traded very even. 3 for 3. Wildcard finally able to hit back as Maryville are stymied in the mid game.
I thought this was a really bad engage from the get-go because Shady was able to find Luke, but the Stand United was really well timed. The re-engage there from Quacker guaranteed it was a 4v5. And Chippies was pretty effectively kept out of this fight until right now. But if you look at the rest of his team, they're nowhere near, and Luke is safe to flash over the wall half health. And from here, he just gets to fire away time after time after time, narrowing it down to a 2v2 at the end.
Anytime the man's getting kills with Gravitum,
yeah,
you know they're feeling it. And this was what we outlined in draft. This is an Aphelios composition, and if the Aphelios comes online, it is scary. We are now at a Kraken Slayer 2-item Aphelios, and for the first time, we saw Luke be able to succeed in a team fight where those meaty frontline tanks that Wildcard did draft were able to protect Luke. For the most part, did have to flash away from Chippies, but for the most part, from that pressure, Luke sits in the back of the fight, lays in the damage, and surprise, surprise, Wildcard's composition does what it says on the tin.
Unfortunately for them, the tin didn't have the warning about random Baron buff losses, so Maryville may be able to sneak this one out. This is second time attempting it.
Half HP on the Baron. They are warded. They know exactly where Luke is. That's important. I don't think they expect Quacker to come from the top side. That's huge from Chippies. Bullet time as well. Maryville have destroyed them in a single combo.
Beautiful team fighting once again from Maryville. Shady finds it off at the beginning of the dredge line. Then Chippies, like you said, has been fantastic on this Gnar. Perfect Mega Gnar timings every single time, using the ultimate to find never less than 2 stuns. And Xeno just gets chased down as well to the full ace.
No survivor.
Could be an inhibitor and more.
Yeah, Baron in hand. Maryville, despite Wildcard's best macro, despite some honestly pretty sick early game plays, are looking to clean this one up.
Oh, they're still going for it. 30 seconds on Xeno, so they do have the opportunity. All 5 in the base. Moonlit Vigil will not land on anyone. Luke finds the root. Will not be enough. Panda stunned against the wall. Luke down and blown up immediately. Support's down as well. It's just Panda and no Nexus defense available as Maryville take a convincing game number 1.
And that will be it. Maryville, more terrifying than ever. Maybe they're back. We're going to have to find out how much they have in the wild card. Maybe a chance to contest in game number 2 of this series.